let's move on over here to hear from Meow on JUP, CAT, and PPP.
So the point is to kind of put together all the key things that we have done over the last 6 or 7 months to really kind of preserve the integrity of JUP. What's actually really important here in any token project is the integrated token. Because if the stakeholders do not have the confidence that the token is being well managed and distributed, it's almost like trying to build a skyscraper on a giant pile of tofu. It kind of doesn't matter how good a skyscraper is, if the foundation is weak, it doesn't work. And similarly, right, as a user, right, if you're worried about being Instadamon, you're not going to focus on the roadmap. For example, for Jupiter, we have this really big roadmap of like building the GAM, the giant everything exchange, and investing in meta. All those things will actually work if the community is constantly arguing and fighting and worried about token allocations and distribution, getting dumped on everything. Like 3 things. We call it CAT. C-A-T. The first thing is to give the community a lot of certainty. The second thing is to give the community a large number of alignment between key stakeholders. And third thing is T, transparency on token distribution. If you don't have any of these 3 things, the community breaks down really fast. It doesn't matter whether you are a top 100 coin or you are a meme coin. You can see many projects that are full of shit. There's at least zero trust in the community. We are really focus on the whole trust thing. Because again, we have these long-term goals. If you don't actually have a very cohesive community, then it becomes impossible to actually work and go together. Over here, I kind of outline a lot of things that we did at the Genesis. Ever since Genesis, the moment of Genesis, we did a lot of stuff to give a lot of certainty to stakeholders, to make sure there was a high-level alignment between all the stakeholders, whether it's the users or the community members or team or even the material stakeholders. And also lastly is to really make sure that everything was transparent as well. We probably did what I consider to be the most thorough token minting ritual. And then secondly, the co-wallets are actually majority owned by the ecosystem leaders. And thirdly is that we have a very simple and elegant tokenomics to kind of reflect the key alignment point between the community and the team. And obviously, we also did a really big and inclusive airdrop to close to 1 million wallets who use Jupiter pre-announcement, right? And the really powerful thing is that they actually gave us a really big base of users, our members, who was already familiar with Jupiter. We spent a lot of time to make sure that everyone who was part of the Jupiter journey was actually as well. And then obviously we have an extremely transparent single launch pool, only one launch pool. Like no side deals, no OTC. Obviously, we actually kept the vast majority of whatever USDC was in there and incremented over only 3 months. So that actually gave the whole ecosystem a lot of confidence that we're actually in it for the long run and not just for the launch. If we didn't do all these things, I don't think we have the community today. I think the community and the foundation and trust that we have today is actually a result of these things that we did. At Jupiter, we don't actually do things for short-term pumps. We don't do short-term pumps. We don't do things for token price. We also don't do things for short-term gains. We really try to do the things that we think will anchor a lot of foundations for the community moving forward.
So that was CAT kind of at the beginning. How about an ongoing operation?
The one thing that I'm actually really happy with is actually a 50-50 thing, which is the idea that 50% of the tokens will be to our team and 50% of the tokens will be allocated to the community. We have formed the world's largest and most active DAO. And it's actually extremely vibrant. And as a result of that energy, we are going to take on really big responsibilities. For example, the token reduction vote, and secondly is the jubilary and ASR. And the second initiative that we have is what we call the community ethos. Again, the whole CAT thing, certainty, alignment, transparency. So for community ethos, it's our effort to kind of give the community a lot of certainty. The number one, there'll be no surprise shock ever. No lingering harm from 10 allocations. And also the team will actually be fully committed to executing all the proposed plan. As a quick recap, the team will be taking 100% of the first year cliff. And then me and Xiong will be committing to locking all token invested until June 2026, which is 2 years away, well past the 2 intangible. And not just us, most of our team members have also committed to locking a lot of the tokens and liquidating only what they need for their own personal financial security. If the 30% vote passes, we'll also be cutting our allocation as well. The main thing we want to do here is to really communicate that no matter what happens, our interests are 100% aligned with the team. Community it first and chef it last.
There's no world in which you make money on JUP and people don't at this rate because you don't have any JUP to make money on.
It is my strong belief that the DAO voting on the crucial things, for example, reduction and the jubilary and ASR, is actually extremely important for alignment. So a lot of things were decided pre-JUP.
Before the token launch, you mean?
But what we're doing now is that we're shifting the decision back to the community because this pool actually comes from the community pool and not from our pool, the team pool. So the community should actually decide what to do with it, whether to do it or not. What will happen is that the community will have a really big debate. The fact that the community comes together and working and discuss whether to do this or not, it's actually a really big, for alignment. But it's not just alignment between us and the community, alignment between the community itself. It's actually a really big part of PvP.
To avoid a civil PvP war, we must have a civil PvP debate. There's major decisions being made by the DAO. This is not like, iterating on small little parameters on the side. This is like reducing the supply of the Jupiter token by 30%, folks. That is what's on the table. Whether or not there are more Jupuaries to come where, over time, millions, if not billions of tokens will be distributed. ASR, which again, tens of millions, if not 100 million tokens, again, getting distributed to incentivize governance. These are major strategic decisions that are being placed in the community's hand. But it only works if people are actually talking about it out in the open. And then lastly here, we have the Cat Pact.
The Cat Pact is something that we are committed to doing because we think that JUP is the most important resource that we have, and we kind of want to put in strong processes that can be repeated again and again in order to ensure the integrity of JUP. So even if I leave or anyone leave and stuff, the core processes, the integrity JUP will always be there. Regular committee audits, 100% disclosure of all token sales. We always do advance notice of token release. So if we release any tokens for the reserve or strategic purpose reasons for future team members, for MMA purposes, or we might want to actually get strategic investment, we'll make sure that we explain why this could be net positive. We'll actually carefully manage the release to make sure there's no supply shock ever. And basically, we'll always communicate the releases at least 3 months in advance. Basically, we want to make sure that the community and the market and the ecosystem will always understand the point. And then fourthly is transparency on treasury. What we're going to do is that we're going to label very clear unsold tokens. And as well, we also have a very big allocation for community allocations. Any release there will actually be released via DAO vote.
Giving advance notice at least 3 months for any token releases, or disclosing all token sales. Those are not things you see a lot of other teams do because, hey, they might want some flexibility. They might be acting in the best interest of their community from their own perspective. But without this kind of advance notice, the community doesn't have the certainty that they're acting in their best interest. This was a little bit of a longer section, but I think pretty critical to understanding the JUP mindset, and particularly going into the vote that is going to happen tomorrow.
So one last thing is that this token reduction vote is not for the token price. It's not. It's for us to go through the tokens allocation, think about the current state right now, a chance for the team to explain to you our plans, chance for the community to think about how they want to use their allocation and to vote accordingly. That is the point. Okay, to really bring us from a community that I would say maybe had 10% understanding of the tokenomics to a community that has the best understanding of tokenomics of any community.
Stay tuned. Go check out the research forum post for some more details. Hang out in the Discord. I'm sure that everyone's going to be talking about it in there. And then make sure to stay tuned on Twitter as well. Everybody in this community who's watching this, you have a say on the future of the token and JUP, the community. We love to see it.